Hello and welcome to another episode of Bare Bones Wargaming, a show with no bells, no whistles, no frills, just a man, a camera, and his game. On this episode, we are taking a look again at the new 3rd edition of Conflict of Heroes, Storms of Steel, that just came out from Academy Games. And this episode, although I intend to do some more playthroughs later on, because some folks have asked for that. We're going to do some missions with both tanks and infantry and anti-tank guns and all that jazz. However, having played this a number of times now, I have decided that I'm going to go ahead and we're going to the Bare Bones Wargaming opinion time. So you know what that means. Womp, womp, womp. Womp, womp, womp. Dun 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 dun. Hoo ha he ho. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. That's right. It's time for the good, the bad, and the ugly. Alright. So, now, as I mentioned to you guys before, I'm not really much of a tactical war gamer. So, I will say that there might be folks who have different opinions on this. I'm giving my opinion as I see things based on years of trying to find a tactical war game that I liked and enjoyed and had felt comfortable with, and this definitely fits the bill. Now, of course, that doesn't mean necessarily that this is all going to be sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows everywhere. If you don't know that one, look it up. So, into each life a little rain must fall. So let's talk about this. So let's start with the good. First of all, I love the feel of this. It gives a great feel of tactical warfare without getting bogged down with a billion die rolls, with a billion pieces. Like I said before in the previous video, I played Squad Leader. I've dabbled with ASL a little bit, Combat Commander, and some others. And this one is just, it has a good feel, like you're on that battlefield. You've got, as you can see, I've got the big mission number 11 here set up, which is simply called Tanks, which of course is near and dear to my heart. But it just has a nice feel. You got that intensity, you've got the uncertainty of it. It's just a lot of fun without getting bogged down with endless modifiers and double checks and rolls for breaking and malfunction and see if somebody forgot to tie their shoelace, all that jazz that can go with it. So that's the first good thing. Second good thing, and this is a really good thing, is the rulebook. I mentioned this last video, but it's true. I mean, the rulebook is just, it's so nicely done. It's beautifully put together. I've only had a few issues with rules, and even those were very minor, so to speak. But I mean, it's just nicely set up. They give you the rules, they give you the white boxes, kind of make it stand out. Okay, and then you give great examples and multi-step examples too. See here, like this has got A, B, C, and there's a diagram that goes with it. And then critical things are here. Group move action cost is the highest individual cost that goes with the group. The rulebook is just superb. It really is. It is one of the best rulebooks. Someday I should do that. That'd be a good one, right? A good video, top 5, top 10 rulebooks of all time that I've come across. This one's really good. So the rules are terrific. I also love the Spec Check. Now, I will say that I have played Awakening the Bear 2nd edition. So I am familiar with the old 7 action point system that existed before the Spec Check. But I love the Spec Check because it's got more of the press your luck kind of feel to it. It's got the more of the uncertainty, keeps everybody on their toes, and does go faster too, because you can alternate. And if you don't want to risk, the stress, the added action point for that die roll, then you can switch to a different unit. And it's almost like for lack of a better way to put it, it's almost like watching a movie. You know, it's like one side of the battlefield where you just attacked with this group of tanks. So now, of course, you don't want to risk the spent check +1 action point modifier. So you go to the other side of the battlefield. You know, it's kind of back and forth. It's almost like a game of chess in that way. You know, you can move different pieces on the board, or you can sustain an attack. You can press your luck. You can use your command points. So I really like the spent check. That's cool. I also like the cards. Now, granted, I do play solo most of the time, but from a two-player perspective, the cards are cool because even when you have units that are spent, you know, you might be sitting there kind of like, you know, rubbing your hands together and being like, yes, I'll get you, my pretty. And then this person, bam, they play a card that's like, oh yeah, check this out, man. Look, boom, I got this adrenaline card. Next thing you know, it's like, I'm melting! Because, you know, the tank turns around and guess what? We've been sitting here just waiting for you to come, you know. And you end up like, you know, the Fly. The old version, I believe 1958. Help me! You know, because you're stuck now. You thought you were rolling up on a tank that was spent. These guys are, for whatever reason, maybe, you know, the loader jammed, who knows, and stuff. But the next thing you know, your world just gets rocked. So, I do like that. I do like the cards making the uncertainty. I also like the hit markers too. That was one of the things that really sold me on the game, was having all these different hit markers with these, you know, different results and stuff. Because then you never know exactly what happens when you hit it. You know, it's not like other game systems where it's like, oh, well, I hit half the defense factor, so it's damaged now. Well, maybe. Or, you know, then I have to roll another die to find out, you know, oh, this part is damaged. Well, is it permanently damaged? You know, you just pull the marker out and it's like, boom. You know, this is what's wrong with it. Now, of course, when you're playing a two-player game, you put it underneath so you're not exactly sure what happened, you know, to it. Did I mobilize that tank? Is the gun malfunction? You know, are they suppressed? You just don't know. So that's very cool too. I like that. And I actually like the addition of the destroyed marker. I don't remember, now I may be wrong, but I don't remember the destroyed marker being part of Awakening the Bear. But I like that because, again, you know, war is full of friction. You never know what might happen. So I really like the hit markers, okay? And the other thing I like about this part of the good is this is fun because the best way I can think to put this bluntly is when I play, you know, Conflict of Heroes, the Storms of Steel, or the Awakening of the Bear, I don't feel like I'm an accountant. You know, when I used to play Squad Leader, especially, there were so many things to check. It felt like, you know, it felt like being an accountant, you know, for lack of a better analogy, you know, and it was tedious. It just, you know, it reminds me of Jack Nicholson in As Good as It Gets, when he's like, it's exhausting talking like this, you know, when he's trying to make small talk. That's the way I kind of felt about a lot of other tactical systems. Now, again, you know, this is just my perspective. I know some people love that, and I'm actually going to talk about that here shortly. But for me, being able to, this is a fun game. You know, there is a huge fun factor here to this. And again, it kind of reminds me of that comment, and I think it was, I forget the author's name, but he made the comment and observation about Napoleon, was that Napoleon was able to master detail without wallowing in it. And that's kind of the way I feel about this game system versus a Squad Leader and stuff. Okay, not to take anything away from Squad Leader, because it was groundbreaking. It can be a lot of fun, but just not for me. Okay, and again, if you were looking for a tactical system that, you know, if you're, you know, like Memoir 44, this bed is too small. You know, Squad Leader, ASL, this bed is too big. Well, guess what, Goldilocks? If you're in the same situation as me, you probably will want to check this out, because I have a feeling you might be going, this bed is just right. Okay, so that's the good. Now, the bad. Well, as with most things in life, as I've noticed in being nearly 50 now, everything has its good and its bad points. Okay, so for the bad parts here, the spec check also can be a bad thing, because if you gamble and you just activated like 5 tanks together as a group and be like, yes, it's only an action point cost of 1, and there's only a 20% chance that I'm going to roll a 1, and then you roll it. yeah, that can be really annoying. And again, I mean, you could look at it and be like, okay, so why are they sitting there? What happened? You know, and again, you could look at it. I mean, there are logical explanations for this. You know, maybe their commander lost his nerve. Maybe he's uncertain. Maybe he's more cautious than, you know, another one. Maybe your commander, maybe the commander of that tank platoon's role model is George B. McClellan versus, you know, someone whose role model is Patton. There's a lot of explanations, but it also can be extremely frustrating, too. Okay. The other thing is, now again, I'm talking strictly about this game and the base game, also for Awakening of the Bear. There's no random scenario generator. So, you know, after you play these missions, and granted, there are a lot of missions in the booklet. I mean, this one, let me just look at Storms of Steel here too, but I told you I'm on mission 11. And I think there's somewhere around, yeah, it looks like there's 15 or 16. There's 16 missions. So, I mean, that is a lot. But eventually, I mean, you know, if you play them enough, you want to, you know, you want to do that. And that's why they used to have those expansions with Squad Leader and stuff. You know, you just bought like the little tablet that had all the scenarios. And then, of course, in the general, they always had scenarios. So, now granted, this is fixed by the Firefight expansion, the Firefight generator that you can buy if you know, really get into this and you want to do that. But as far as the base game goes, you know, it's not like Carrier. You know, the Victory game one, which had like not only the historical scenarios like Coral Sea and stuff, but it also had the random one where you could just be like, okay, we're going to fight in the South Pacific, and you know, here's the number of potential carriers, and here's how many carriers you have as the U.S., blah, blah, blah. Okay, that kind of thing. All right. Another thing that can be bad about this is it can have big swings, like I said before about the Spec Check. You know, if you forget to use one of your command points, or you're, you know, being a little Scrooge-ish with them, and you're like, I don't need to do that, and you get burnt, you get, you know, you hit a whammy, so to speak, with pressing your luck, then that can be an issue. The other thing, of course, is drawing some of the markers. Again, I had this happen in one of the other scenarios I was playing. I had the unfortunate luck. Every time I hit a German tank, 3 times in a row, I kid you not, 3 times in a row, I pulled out the destroyed marker. So, you know, usually when you take a damage marker, you need another hit on a tank with the damage already, or a unit with damage already to destroy it. But if you hit the destroyed one, ding, 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 you know, you nail it. That's also true of the critical hits, which the critical hits is very cool too on the positive side, because yeah, there are those times when you know, your to hit number is 5 and you roll an 11. Well, that's 4 more higher, and bam, that unit is completely rendered combat ineffective. It's over. Stick a fork in it. But at the same time, you know, if your opponent gets lucky and rolls some of those and you're not getting those hits, then, you know, that can make things swing quite a bit. So that is one thing, that the swings and the luck factor is fairly high. But again, it depends on who you are. You know, I know some people that just abhor too much luck and stuff. And for me, life is full of luck and fortuitous bounces and, you know, things beyond your control that, you know, you had no idea. You know, like, just to give you an example, just a bizarre thing today. You know, I was at the grocery store, of all places, right? And I got my little man with me, my 3-year-old. He's almost 4. And we're putting the groceries in the car, and a fire truck parks in some of the spaces next to us. We just happened to be there, right place at the right time. And when they got out, you know, the firemen and the firewomen were like, would you like to sit in the truck? And of course, my 3-year-old was like, oh yeah. But, you know, that was just pure luck. We just happened to be in the right place at the right time, and he had a blast. He just loved it. I mean, it only lasted like 5 minutes, but still, you know, for a 4-year-old, 5 minutes is like a week. But my point being that there are those bounces, there are those, you know, synchronicity moments, and that doesn't bother me. But again, when I do these reviews, I do try to point things out that might, you know, something you might want to think about if you're thinking about buying the game, investing in the system, and things like that. Okay. And the other thing is that, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but I have noticed in the bigger battles that when you start to get a lot of hits on units, and maybe it's because I like to spread my hits around a little bit when I'm firing, when you start to use up the counters in there, then it kind of becomes a little bit of like card counting, because then you can look at the board and be like, okay, so, you know, this many are out and stuff. Now, granted, this is a solo problem. But again, if you're a solo gamer, you know, this is something to be aware of. if you're looking and saying, you know what, I know that there are, I forget what number it is, but like 5 immobilized counters, and there's already 3 out there. So you know what? One of these other ones might be gun damage. Yeah, let me go ahead and hit this bigger tank or this tank that's closer because I might get the gun damage one. So, a 2-player game where you don't know which counters are out there, it's not as big of a factor. But in a solo perspective, when you're playing by yourself, yeah, it is a little bit of a factor because you can look at the board and again, like card counting. So something to keep thinking about for the bad part. Again, if you're not a card counter, if you don't feel like doing that kind of mental exertion like me, all my life, I admit freely, math and science have never been my thing. I've loved history and I've loved literature. And I don't really spend my time trying to do card counting and such. So it's not a big deal, but again, if you're one of those folks that likes to do that and you have the aptitude for it, it's something you might want to consider with this game. Okay? So that's the bad. The only ugly thing I have, and the reason I'm labeling this as an ugly thing, is because it's happened to me quite a few times now, and it is annoying. It's like, I'm trying to think of a good analogy of how annoying it is. It's kind of like people who overuse the word literally. I was like literally, no, you weren't. I was like literally freezing to death. No, you weren't. That's not possible. If you were, you wouldn't be talking to me. Or you'd be in the hospital, or you'd have, bandages, or you'd have blackened limbs. No, it's kind of like that. And the thing is that, and I understand the reason for doing it, because it opens up more possibilities and all, but the overlay here, like of the hills and stuff, like it feels like every time you try to move a counter, see, I just tried to move that counter and see how it's like I just had an earthquake. Now, granted, I suppose you could hold it down and then try to, move things. But look, see, even holding it down, I just bumped it. And that, see, I bumped it again. That can be annoying. That is the one ugly part of this, in my opinion. And again, it is a double-edged sword. On the one hand, it's nice to have the overlay because, then you don't necessarily have, like the old squad leader games, Hill 621 scenario. You don't necessarily have a hill that's definitely, it's on this map. You have to use this map because it has the hill. You can literally put hills on any one of these maps or any one of the Awakening the Bear maps that you want. So that can be annoying. Yeah, that can be annoying. So that's the ugly part for me, in my personal perspective. So, but overall, as you probably can tell from this, the good definitely outweighs the bad, especially if you're someone like me who doesn't mind so much the luck factor, because then 2 of my bad things about the Spec Check, the swings, the counter hits, 3 of those kind of go away if you're just like, what, spit happens. Sometimes the ship hits the sand, and that's all there is to it. Sometimes the human waste hits the vertical oscillator. Yeah, I know. There's quicker ways to say that, but I'm trying to keep this family friendly so that way small people watching this or younger people watching this will not know. They won't know what an oscillator is, I'm sure. So my point being that, then you're kind of down to the fact that there's no random scenario generator kind of thing. So it depends on what your cup of tea is. For me, this definitely hits my sweet spot. I've never been much of a tactical war gamer. Actually, right now, this is one of the few. By few, I think I have 5 total tactical games in my entire collection of 650 games, which is outrageous to think I have 650 games, but that's a separate problem to have. So, bottom line is, at the end of the year, when I do my little video about new games to me, best and worst kind of thing, this definitely will make my best list. Because this is just a lot of fun. It's easy to set up. It's easy to flow through. It's just a fun tactical game that still gives you a good feel for tactical warfare without like if you're a detailed person and you like having those individual flamethrowers and those demolition charges and stuff, yeah, this is not going to be for you. But if you're like me and you're like, hey, I know that this 1943 rifle unit, they've got some of this stuff with them. It's built in. I'm cool with that. That's okay. It doesn't bother me. So anyway, so there's my thoughts about the game system here, the 3rd edition rules of this. And again, you know, like I said, I have played the 7 action points. You can use command points, you know, to have them do things, and then, you know, you still can keep whatever action points you have left and stuff. That to me was okay. It was better than, like, say, Squad Leader and stuff, but this is definitely, in my opinion, a step up from the type of tactical game that I'm looking for. So in the end, I do give it a thumbs up. Alright. Next time. At some point in the future, like I said, I'll do some more videos, maybe from Storms of Steel or maybe Awakening the Bear. You know, maybe even do... I have the solo expansion too, because, you know, I enjoyed Awakening the Bear a lot, so I bought those 2 things, and then of course I bought the Storms of Steel 3rd edition, because I just, you know, it's Kursk, and I love tanks. I just, you know, this right now, what I've got set up on this, you know, this is like, you know, well, yeah, like Spicoli at the end of Fast Time at Ridgemont High. Awesome! Totally awesome! So I'm just enjoying this a lot, playing this, and pushing these pieces around. So, next time, if I don't do another scenario of this first, and it might be a little while before I visit you guys again, because the rest of this month is going to get quite hectic and busy, because of course Thanksgiving's coming, Christmas is coming, and we have 2 birthdays in this household as well, between those 2. So yeah, this time of the year is very busy for the Korchnoi household. So so next time I come to you, I figure it's either going to be another scenario of this, or I'll probably do the Triumph and Tragedy solo thing. So anyway, so this is Tim Korchnoi from Bare Bones Wargaming, saying thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.